Hello and welcome to Sami Parvez Show. Today I'm joined by Maxime Bernier, the People's Party of Canada. As Mr. Bernier was my first guest on Sami Parvez Show, is when I relaunched this show back in June. Today we will be discussing about the latest Globe and Mail report about Harjit Sajjan requested 100 soldiers to perform with Punjabi pop star, and also the last trip of Trudeau to NATO summit and the Mélanie Joly visit to China. Thank you so much, Mr. Bernier, to having you again on Sami Parvez Show. It's a great pleasure to have you again.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be with you.
My pleasure. Okay, sir. So it seems like it was great. Like we had a conversation last time. You were the first guest on Sami Parvez Show, and then I saw you have been around. You have always been around, but it seems like the mainstream media always ignore person like a politician or leader like you know, like they always give priority to main leaders party. Those are elected official, you know. But could you please today make a commitment that whenever you get elected, or or your party, People's Party of Canada, would form a government, but still you give interviews to independent media like myself?
Yeah, for me, it is important to be out there and give interviews with a lot of independent media, YouTubers, and, alternative media, because as you just said, the mainstream media or the legacy media in Canada don't want to speak with me. They are canceling me. And it's, it's unfair because we had 5% of the vote, and all our policies are very different than the ones promoted by the Liberal Party of Canada or the Conservative Party of Canada and Pierre Poilievre. So we have a strong vision for this country, and with policies that are in line with our principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. So for me, I'm very encouraged by what happened in Europe during the last election in UK and in Europe in general. Populist party are growing, and they are winning support. And like in UK, Nigel Farage had about 10% of the vote. He was able to elect 5 of his MPs, candidates elected. So that's great, because it's very difficult in a parliamentary system with the electoral system that we have in Canada and in UK, with the first past the post. There's no proportional representation. So, Farage, Nigel has 10% of the vote, but he doesn't have 10% of the MPs in Parliament. So, but at least, the populist message is out there, and more people are, coming to us. And that is encouraging for us in Canada and for the People's Party. We had 5% of the vote at the last election. We almost triple our score from the election of 2019. So that's great for a new political party. And, the next election will be in October 2025. And I strongly believe that we'll be able to improve. I hope we can double our percentage of the vote. And yes, we will have a candidate in every riding across the country. And I'll do my best to be elected and be in Parliament. But don't forget, it took 7 years for Nigel in UK to be elected. Not 7 years, sorry, 7 elections for him to be able to be elected. I'm not telling you that it will take 7 elections for me, but our goal is to grow the percentage of the vote, and step by step, this party is growing. And I hope that at the next election, we'll have maybe between 8, 9, 10% of the vote. And I will be also able to participate in the national debates on TV, because, we had 5% of the vote, and they said at the last election that I was not able able to participate in national debates
Yeah.
because we didn't have 4% of the vote. So
Yeah.
we had 5 at the last election. So
Yeah.
I will be there, and that will give us more visibility,
Mhm.
and people will know who is the People's Party of Canada.
Mhm.
And I hope that will translate in more votes during that election.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, as you brought up Nigel Farage, so I need to I also asked a pollster that will Maxime Bernier will be the next Nigel Farage would take, but it all depends, it's the like electoral system all are the same as UK, but but the people are different. Right now, the Conservative Party of Canada under Spyri Coulier is in surge, the Liberal Party is just numbers are dipping in the polls, but we don't see much rise in the People's Party of Canada. I don't know why, but I need to ask you, as you mentioned, Nigel Farage received like 10% of the vote, but they don't have like 10% MPs in the parliament, But as there is a longest ballot campaign going on, I believe you are aware of that. They ran around like 74 candidates in Toronto St. Paul's by-election. As People's Party candidate was also running on that campaign, but People's Party of Canada candidate just received around, I believe, 223 votes, but those longest ballot came in, candidates received like around like all total of them, but they received 900. And my question is to you: do you support proportional representation, like what this longest ballot is running? Like it means there should be a change in electoral system.
Yes, absolutely. It would be easier if we have more representativity in our electoral system,
Mhm.
and because it would be easier for us to have candidates elected like it is in Europe. Yes, I'm strongly supporting that change in our electoral system.
Mhm.
And but we understand also that it is more difficult for us to win seats or to have more support in a big urban center like Toronto and Montreal, Vancouver. So, but we have candidates in these ridings because it's important to, if our candidate can have, 500 votes downtown Toronto at the by-election or general election,
Yeah.
it will help us to increase our percentage of the vote nationally during the general election. So that's why we'll have a candidate everywhere. And but we understand that Pierre Poilievre is doing very well in the polls, and he may be the next prime minister. So what I'm telling Canadians, you need to be sure that Poilievre will be honest, and Poilievre will write, will do what a real conservative government will do. But right now, Poilievre is like Trudeau on a lot of important issues like immigration, climate change. He will impose regulations, and he will try to do everything to meet the Paris Accord targets. We won't. We will withdraw from the Paris Accord. But he is like the Liberals on the most important issues for the future of our country. So it is a win-win for people to vote for the People's Party because we will keep him honest. We will push Poilievre in the right direction. And so if you want to get rid of Trudeau, just look at the polls and you'll see that Poilievre may be and will be the next prime minister. So there's no risk over there. You're going to get rid of Trudeau. Now you have an opportunity to vote in line with your values and to vote for something and not against something. And we believe that we have the best vision for this country and the best policies. So I'm inviting everybody to go on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, read our platform. If you like it, I hope you will support us. If not, just don't vote for us.
Yeah, and as you may be aware of today's Globe and Mail report regarding Harjit Sajjan lobbied, as according to Globe and Mail, like Harjit Sajjan lobbied in April for the Canadian Armed Forces to send about 100 soldiers to act as backdrops at a Vancouver concert by Punjabi pop star Diljit Dosanjh, one of India's most popular singer and actor. It seems like last time you also heard when Harjit Sajjan was defense minister, he instructed Canadian troops to rescue Afghan Sikhs instead of other valuable people there like Canadian citizen and those Afghan interpreters, those helped Canadian troops when they were serving there. What's your reaction on this?
It's an example of doing politics, identity politics. And, we don't do that at the People's Party. You are a Canadian and we'll do everything for you as a Canadian. If you're a Sikh, a Christian, or a Jew, it's not important for us. But that's what is happening. For him, it was more important to try to help people of his religion, Sikh people in his religion, and they were not Canadians. Actually, that did not happen. That's the good news. But it's only the fact that he wanted to do that. He wanted to put resources to help people in his sharing the same religions. We must not do that in our country. It's unfair for Canadians, and that's what we are fighting against this identity politics. If you're a Canadian and your life is in danger, it's somewhere in the world, the federal government must be there for you, and the federal government must not ask what religions do you practice. And so that's not important. But for Polyev and the liberals, they're all doing politics by pandering to ethnic groups. And actually, Polyev is doing also more than that. Is second in command, is a co-leader. Is speaking Punjabi during a press conference with Polyev. In Canada, there's only two official languages, French and English. So that's showing you that they are pandering to different ethnic groups. We won't do that. If you're a Canadian from Chinese origin or Indian origin, for me, when you decided to come to Canada, you decided to be Canadian. And for me, you are a Canadian, and I won't pander to your religions or your ethnic groups to try to have your support. I will look at you as a Canadian, and I will do everything for you like I will do for every Canadian.
Yeah. So right now, let's come to immigration, as you brought up. So now federal government is caping on international students. Like they say, we need less. As you have been campaigning like since 2018, when you formed this party, you said there is mass immigration. But what's your reaction? Do you think now we are on a right path? Still more needs to be done.
Certainly more need to be done, because we have international students that are not leaving the country after their diploma, when they receive their diploma. When you have a visa to study in Canada, after that, when you receive your diploma, you must leave the country, like everybody was doing that. But now, we have a lot of, I would call them fake international students coming from India. And after their study, if they have a real diploma, they want to stay in Canada. They want to work in Canada. No, actually, they must be deported. If you don't respect our legislations, don't ask us to give you a gift and give you the permanent residency because you don't respect our legislation. If you're staying in Canada after your diploma, after you're studied, you're illegal. And if you're an illegal, you must be deported. So, but Trudeau and Polyev, they are supporting them, and they are telling them, these international students who want to stay in Canada after their visas, they are telling them, you will come, we will give you a permanent residency. that is opening the door to a lot of fraud in our immigration system. If you want to immigrate into Canada, doing that, you must do it by the front door and asking to be a permanent resident, not using all these loopholes and try to come to Canada as a student or as a fake foreign temporary worker. You must, after your visa, you must leave the country, and if not, you must be deported.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your take from NATO summit when Trudeau visited there and he escaped Calgary stampede, and you were there, and Pierre Pouliot and some other politicians were there, but Singh and Trudeau missed that one. But he visited to Washington to attending the NATO summit. And what's your take on that? Do you think he did very well, or again, because or like US lawmakers and other officials criticize Canada for not reaching to 2% spending on defense? So what's your response?
Yeah, as you know, it's an engagement that Canada took a long time ago, spending 2% of our GDP in our defense, and we are not doing that. If I remember, we are around 1.2% or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and Trudeau is spending a lot of money. He did the biggest deficit in the history of our country, but he doesn't have any money for our Canadian forces. And worse than that, he is turning our Canadian forces into a woke organization and promoting, DEI programs, and putting people in charge of the Canadian defense, a woke person, and not based on merits. That must be, if you want to have a promotion, you must be good for the job. If you're having a promotion only because of the color of your skin or because of your sex, you are building weak organization. And right now, the Canadian forces are a weak organization at the top with their leadership, but also the fact that the federal government is not, investing in our Canadian forces. And so the NATO summit, that was also, we are part of NATO, but the message that the federal government and Trudeau must say to the world is, we don't want to participate in your proxy war between US and Russia in Ukraine. But Trudeau and Poilievre are, 100% in line with that war, and they want to give more money to Ukraine. They want to give more ammunitions also, and arms and resources. We need to stop that. We need to stop that and promote peace and prosperity. So now, we are, if you look at that, it's very dangerous for the security of our country when, Canada is participating in that proxy war against Russia. And we must not participate in that. That's the historical position of our country, promoting peace and prosperity. And I must add that Jean Chrétien did not participate in the war in Iraq, and that was a good decision. So we have to show to the Americans and NATO that we can be independent and having a different foreign policies. But it's not the case with the liberals and the conservative. They are, warmongers and promoting more wars across the board. So it must be the opposite, and that's why we are the only one that is there for Canadians and saying we must bring that money back home that we are spending in Ukraine. Our people, our standard of living is going down, and it's very difficult economically in Canada right now. And the federal government, with the help of the opposition and Poilievre, are spending money in foreign aid in Ukraine. They must spend that money here in Canada for Canadians. And first, they must invest in our Canadian forces for our security, for sure.
Yeah, and so we are running out of short time, but my question is, so you are like Canada, a liberal foreign minister, Joly Mélanie, she visited China. So in Trudeau, like you remember back in 2013, he said that he admired China because of its dictatorship. And you know, like when Trudeau was questioned during a pandemic and about those Chinese scientists who were fired from a top secret lab, and when he was questioned, he said it is racism and racism, you know, anti-Asian racism. And what do you take? It means she visited there secretly. No one knew until she arrived, or maybe Chinese foreign affair department revealed that she will be meeting our counterpart. You know. So what do you take? Is China is closest, not closest ally, but trading partner of Canada, and should Canada keep having a diplomatic relationship with China?
I must surprise a lot of people by saying, China or Russia are not our enemies.
Mm.
It is our own federal government that
Mm.
is working against Canadians. That's what he did during COVID-19 with, imposing lockdowns, vaccine passport, curfew across in Quebec, and all these draconian measures. And by not respecting our Charter of Rights, by, creating inflation and taxing people. As you know, Canadians are the one who are paying more taxes if you compare that with other countries. The Fraser Institute just did a study last week, and half of the salary of Canadians is going into taxes, municipal, provincial, federal, and add to that the inflation tax. Half of our salaries is going in taxes, more than to pay for your shelter or for your food. If you put shelter and food together, you're paying more taxes than your expenses that you're paying to eat and to have a house. So it's crazy. We must stop that. Our enemies is the federal government, not China or Russia. So what Mélanie Joly did, that's part of Trudeau. When Trudeau said, he admired the Chinese dictatorship. But don't forget, we had Chinese interference in our elections, and that's happening right now, and that happened at the last election. So we must be concerned about that. I don't know what was the subject of the discussions, maybe trade, but why the federal government is not taking a bigger stance against interference, foreign interference in our electoral system during our elections. And there are some MPs in Ottawa that are not loyal to our country, but they're loyal to their country of origin. We must know who they are, and Poilievre and Trudeau don't want to tell us who they are. And that must be important. If you want to fight against foreign interference, you must be able to tell us who is in your own party, the Liberal and the Conservative, is not loyal to our country. And they won't tell you that. So that is showing you that both the Liberals and the Conservative are not working for Canadians.
Mhm. Yeah, and we are running out of time. And just last question, if you can just like give a brief answer. So two by-elections are coming up, like one for Quebec and the other one is in Toba. So what's your take, and how do you think the People's Party will perform in these two by-elections?
Yes, we will have a candidate in every by-election. And I must be honest, I don't believe we will win. I just want our candidates to do well. I want our candidates to be out there and have, take that opportunity to promote our ideas. And that's a kind of a practice also for the next general election. So we'll see what will happen. But, the goal for our candidates is to be out there and promote our ideas and try to gain more support and being ready for the next general election.
Okay, Mr. Bernier, I will just leave it there. It was a great discussion with you. Always a pleasure to have you on Sami Parvez Show, and looking forward to having you again.
Thank you very much for giving me that opportunity, and have a nice day.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.